The alarm rang through the Galactic Veterinary Station called Mercy's Light. Dr. Tilvik lifted his long head from his work table and listened. His 6 legs carried him quickly across the metal floor toward the communication room. His scales changed from calm blue to alert orange as he moved. "What is happening?" he asked his assistant, a small furry creature named Bello. "Distress signal, Doctor," Bello said. His voice was shaking. "A cargo ship. They say they have a medical emergency. An animal is hurt." Tilvik nodded. This was his job. He was one of the best veterinarians in this sector of space. He had treated creatures from over 200 planets. He had healed animals with 10 legs, animals with no legs, animals that breathed fire, and animals that lived in ice. Nothing scared him anymore, or so he thought. "Send them our docking codes," Tilvik ordered. "Prepare the medical bay. What species is the patient?" Bello looked at his screen. His fur stood up straight. This was a sign of fear among his people. "The ship? The ship is human, Doctor." The room became very quiet. Tilvik felt his scales shift to pale yellow. Humans. He had heard stories about them. Everyone in the galaxy had heard stories about them. They were new to the galactic community, having only discovered space travel 50 years ago. But in that short time, they had earned a terrible reputation. Humans were Class 7 apex predators. This was the highest and most dangerous rating the Galactic Biology Council could give to any species. They had forward-facing eyes like hunters. They had teeth designed to tear meat. They could run for hours without stopping, chasing their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They healed from wounds that would kill most species. They survived in extreme heat and extreme cold. They formed pack bonds so strong they would die for each other. And now one of their ships was coming to his station. Should we refuse them? Bello whispered, till Vek thought about it. Every part of his body told him to say yes, to lock the doors and hide. But he was a healer. He had taken an oath to help any creature in need. He could not break that oath, even for humans. "No," he said. "We will help them. Prepare the medical team. And Bello, tell everyone to stay calm." The human ship arrived 20 minutes later. It was a medium-sized cargo vessel, gray and practical. Tilvik could see damage on one side where debris had struck it. Holes in the metal. Burn marks. It had been through something bad. He waited at the docking port with his team. There were 5 of them in total. Bello, 2 other Morani like himself, and a tall, thin creature named Whisper who specialized in surgery. All of them were scared. Tilvik could smell their fear. He was sure the humans would smell it too. The door opened. A woman stepped through first. She was small by human standards, with black hair tied back from her face. Her skin was light brown. Her eyes were dark and calm. She wore simple gray clothes and heavy boots. She moved with the quiet confidence of a predator who knew she was dangerous but chose not to show it. "Thank you for responding," she said. Her voice was soft and steady. "I'm Captain Emily Park. This is my engineer, David Kim." A man stepped out behind her. He was taller than Emily, with broad shoulders and kind eyes. He nodded at the aliens, but did not speak. Tilvik noticed that both humans moved slowly and kept their hands visible. They were trying not to scare the aliens. This surprised him. "I am Dr. Tilvik," he said. His translator turned his clicks and whistles into words the humans could understand. "How can we help you?" Emily's face changed. She looked tired and worried. "We were hit by debris 3 hours ago," she explained. "Most of my crew is fine. Just small injuries. But we have a passenger who's hurt badly. We rescued her from an illegal animal trading ring 6 months ago. We were taking her to a sanctuary on Earth. What species is your passenger?" Tilvik asked. Emily paused. She looked at David. David looked at the floor. She's a cardiac bear, Emily said. Tilvik did not know this word. His translator searched for meaning and found it. When the information entered his mind, his scales turned pure white. White was the color of terror among his people. Show me, he whispered. Emily led them through the ship to a large cargo hold at the back. The door was thick metal with a small window. David touched a screen on the wall and security footage appeared. Tilvik's team looked at the screen. One by one, they stepped backward. The creature in the cargo hold was enormous. It stood on 4 legs, but Tilvik could tell it could also stand on 2. Its body was covered in thick brown fur. Its head was massive, with a long snout full of teeth. Its paws had claws as long as Tilvik's fingers. It weighed at least 1,500 pounds, maybe more, and it was angry. The bear roared on the screen. The sound was so loud, it made the wall shake. It smashed its body against a storage container, denting the metal like it was paper. Blood dripped from a wound on its shoulder, but it did not seem to notice. It was too focused on destroying everything around it. By the stars, Bello whispered. That is. He did not finish his sentence. He simply turned and ran. 2 of Tilvik's other assistants followed him. Within seconds, only Tilvik and Whisper remained with the humans. I apologize for them, Tilvik said quietly. They are young. It's okay, Emily said. She did not sound offended. I understand. Honey can be scary when she's upset. Honey? Tilvik repeated. That's her name. The people who captured her called her that. We kept it because she responds to it. Tilvik looked at the screen again. The bear had stopped roaring. Now it was pressed into a corner of the cargo hold, breathing hard. Its eyes were wide and wild. How did this happen? Tilvik asked. When the debris hit, a piece came through the wall of her enclosure, David explained. His voice was deep and quiet. It cut her shoulder. The noise scared her. The smell of her own blood scared her more. She's been like this for 3 hours. We can't get close enough to help her. Tilvik understood now. He was looking at 2 apex predators on one ship. The humans were Class 7. The bear was probably Class 6 or Class 5 at least. And the bear was wounded, trapped, and terrified. This was the most dangerous situation he had ever seen. Can you sedate her from a distance? He asked. We tried, Emily said. She destroyed every drone we sent in. Tilvik was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his oath. He thought about his fear. He thought about the wounded creature on the screen, alone and hurting and scared. Then we will have to find another way, he said. He did not know yet what that way would be. But he was a healer. And somewhere inside that cargo hold, a patient needed him. Tilvik stood outside the cargo hold door with Emily, David, and Whisper. His medical bag hung from his middle shoulder. Inside the bag were bandages, cleaning solutions, medicine, and tools. Everything he needed to save a life. But none of it would matter if he could not get close to the patient. Through the thick metal door, he could hear Honey moving. Her claws scraped against the floor. Her breathing was heavy and rough. Sometimes she made a low sound, almost like crying. Tilvik had heard that sound before from other wounded animals. It was the sound of pain and confusion. What is your plan, Doctor? Whisper asked. Her voice was thin and nervous. Tilvik checked his equipment one more time. He had brought his best sedation drone. It was small, fast, and quiet. It could deliver enough medicine to knock out a creature 3 times Honey's size. All it needed to do was get close enough to inject her. I will send in the drone, Tilvik said. Once she is asleep, we can enter safely and treat her wound. Emily frowned. Doctor, we already tried drones. She destroyed them all. Your drones are not medical grade, Tilvik replied. This drone is designed for dangerous animals. It is faster and smarter. It will find an opening. He could see that Emily did not believe him, but she stepped aside and let him work. Tilvik opened a small panel in the wall and released the drone. It was shaped like a silver beetle, no bigger than his hand. It flew silently through a vent into the cargo hold. Tilvik watched its camera feed on his portable screen. The hold was a mess. Storage containers were broken and scattered. Supplies covered the floor. In the far corner, Honey stood with her back against the wall. Her shoulder wound was worse than Tilvik had thought. The cut was deep, and it was still bleeding. She needed treatment soon, or she would get an infection. The drone moved carefully through the shadows. It stayed near the ceiling, far from the bear's reach. Honey did not seem to notice it. Her eyes were fixed on the door where she knew the humans were waiting. Closer, closer. The drone was almost in position. Then Honey's head snapped upward. Her nose twitched. She had smelled the drone's metal body. What happened next was almost too fast for Tilvik to see. Honey rose on her back legs. She was even bigger than he had realized, tall enough to touch the ceiling. Her front paw swung through the air with terrible speed. The drone tried to dodge, but it was not fast enough. Honey caught it in her claws and slammed it against the wall. Then she bit it in half and spat out the pieces. The camera feed went black. Till Vek stared at his screen. His scales faded to gray, the color of shock. That drone cost 4,000 credits, he said quietly. I'm sorry, Emily said. She's very fast when she's scared. Fast? Tilvik turned to look at her. That creature is not just fast. It is impossible. No animal should be able to react that quickly. No animal should be that strong. Your species keeps this thing as a pet? She's not a pet, David said calmly. She's a wild animal. The people who captured her tried to sell her to a private collector, someone who wanted a trophy. We stopped them and took her instead. Tilvik did not understand. Why would humans risk their lives to save a creature that could kill them? What could they possibly gain from such madness? We need to evacuate, Tilvik said finally. This creature cannot be treated. It is too dangerous. The aggression levels are beyond anything I have seen. If we open that door, it will kill us all. He expected the humans to agree. He expected them to give up. That was what any sensible species would do. Instead, Emily stepped closer to the door. She pressed her hand against the metal and closed her eyes. For a long moment, she just stood there, listening. Tilvik could hear Honey's heavy breathing on the other side. The bear was right there, separated from them by just a few inches of steel. She's not aggressive, Emily said softly. Tilvik made a sound of disbelief. Captain, I have eyes. I have seen what she did to my drone. I have seen the damage in that room. That is the definition of aggression. Emily shook her head slowly. She still had not opened her eyes. No, Doctor. That's the definition of fear. She turned around and looked at Tilvik. Her eyes were serious but not angry. Patient but not weak. I've worked with animals my whole life, Emily explained. Before I became a spaceship captain, I worked at a wildlife rescue center on Earth. I've seen bears before. I've seen them angry, happy, curious, playful, and scared. Do you know how you can tell the difference? Tilvik did not answer. An angry bear attacks, Emily continued. It moves forward. It chases. It wants to hurt you. But a scared bear retreats. It backs into corners. It makes itself look big and loud to frighten you away. It destroys things around it, not because it wants to, but because it's panicking. She pointed at the door. Honey has been in that corner for 3 hours. She hasn't tried to break down the door. She hasn't tried to escape. She's just trying to survive. She's hurt and alone and surrounded by strange smells and sounds. The debris that hit her came from nowhere. The alarms were loud. Everything she knew changed in 1 second. She's not a monster, Doctor. She's a scared child in a very big body. Tilvik looked at Whisper. His assistant's long face was uncertain. She did not know what to believe. Even if you are right, Tilvik said slowly, what do you expect us to do? We cannot sedate her. We cannot restrain her. If we open that door, she will attack anything that comes near. Emily smiled. It was a small smile, tired and sad, but real. She won't attack anything, Emily said. She'll attack threats. So we have to stop being threats. How do we do that? Emily looked at David. Something passed between them. Some silent human communication that Tilvik could not understand. We show her that we're not here to hurt her, Emily said. We show her that we understand. We speak her language. Tilvik felt his scales shift to confused purple. You speak bear language? David laughed. It was a soft sound, not mocking. Not words, David said. Body language, energy, patience. Doctor, you've been treating this like a capture mission. Like Honey is an enemy to be defeated. But she's not. She's a patient. And sometimes the best medicine isn't in a bag. It's in how you make someone feel safe. Tilvik had been a veterinarian for 40 years. He had studied at the finest schools in the galaxy. He had written research papers that were read on hundreds of worlds. But in that moment, standing outside a cargo hold with 2 human predators, he realized that maybe he still had something to learn. What do you need me to do? He asked. Emily's smile grew a little wider. First, she said, we turn off the lights. The lights went out one by one until only a single dim emergency strip remained. The cargo hold fell into soft shadows. Tilvik could barely see his own hands in front of his face. His Morani eyes were not made for darkness like this. Why are we doing this? Whisper asked. Her voice was small and frightened. Bears feel safer in low light, David explained quietly. In the wild, they sleep in dark caves. Bright lights make them feel exposed, threatened. Tilvik thought about this. It made sense in a strange way. Many animals on his home world also preferred darkness when they were scared or hurt. He had just never thought to use that knowledge with such a dangerous creature. Emily moved to a control panel and adjusted something. The air in the hallway changed. It became warmer and carried a new smell. What is that? Tilvik asked. Heated synthetic meat, Emily said. It's what we feed Honey on the ship. She knows this smell. It means safety and food. It means home. The smell drifted through the vents and into the cargo hold. Tilvik could not hear Honey's reaction, but he imagined her nose twitching, her brain recognizing something familiar in this world of chaos and pain. Now what? Tilvik asked. Now we going? Emily said. Tilvik's scales turned white again. You cannot be serious. I'm completely serious. Emily's voice was calm. But we go in the right way. We make ourselves small, non-threatening. We don't look at her directly. We don't move fast. We don't speak loudly. We just exist in the same space with her. That is insane, Tilvik said. She will kill us. Emily shook her head. She could kill us. But she won't. Not if we show her we're not enemies. David was already sitting down on the floor near the cargo hold door. He crossed his legs and rested his hands on his knees. His breathing became slow and steady. His whole body relaxed. What is he doing? Whisper asked. He's getting ready, Emily said. When we go in, our energy matters. Animals can sense tension. They can smell fear. If we're nervous and scared, Honey will feel it, and she stays scared too. So David is calming himself, finding his center. It's something humans learn to do when working with animals. Tilvik watched David in amazement. The human's eyes were half closed. His face was peaceful. He looked like he was falling asleep, not preparing to face a deadly predator. "This is your plan?" Tilvik said. "To walk into a room with a wounded Class 6 predator and think calm thoughts?" Emily smiled. "Something like that." She sat down next to David and began the same breathing exercises. Slow in, slow out. Her shoulders dropped. Her hands opened. She looked small and soft and completely harmless. Till Vek could not believe what he was seeing. These humans were apex predators themselves. They had sharp teeth and forward-facing eyes. They came from a world where they had hunted everything from tiny mice to massive elephants. Their ancestors had killed creatures bigger than honey with nothing but pointed sticks. And now they were sitting on the floor, deliberately making themselves weak and vulnerable. "Why do you do this?" Tilvik asked. The question came out before he could stop it. Emily opened her eyes and looked at him. "Do what?" "Risk yourselves. For an animal that cannot thank you. That might kill you. That has no value to you whatsoever. Why do you care so much?" Emily was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "Doctor, I don't know what your world is like. Maybe your people see the universe as hunters and prey, strong and weak, useful and useless. But that's not how humans see things. At least, not the best of us." She looked at the cargo hold door. "When I look at honey, I don't see a threat. I see a creature that feels pain and fear just like I do. She didn't ask to be captured. She didn't ask to be taken from her home and put in a cage. She didn't ask to be hurt. All she wants is to feel safe again. And if I can give her that, if I can help her trust the universe just a little bit more, then why wouldn't I?" Tilvik had no answer. David stood up slowly. His movements were fluid and quiet. "Ready?" he asked Emily. She nodded and rose to stand beside him. "Doctor," Emily said, "you and Whisper should stay here. Watch through the door camera. If something goes wrong, we cannot help you," Tilvik said honestly. "Neither of us is fast enough or strong enough to save you." "I know," Emily smiled. "But you can call for backup. And you can remember what you learned here today." She turned to the door. Till Vek wanted to stop her. He wanted to tell her this was foolish and dangerous and wrong. But something held him back. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was respect. Or maybe it was something else, something he could not name. The door slid open. Honey's growl filled the air immediately. It was deep and rumbling, like thunder from inside a mountain. Tilvik could see her shape in the darkness. She was on all four legs, her head low, her eyes reflecting what little light existed. She looked ready to charge. Emily did not run. She did not scream. She did not even flinch. Instead, she slowly lowered herself to the floor. She sat cross-legged, just like David had shown her. She turned her body sideways so she was not facing Honey directly. She looked at the ground instead of the bear's eyes. And she began to speak. "Hey, Honey," she said softly. "Hey, girl. I know you're scared. I know everything is confusing right now. But it's okay. You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to sit here with you for a while." Her voice was like music, low and gentle and steady. It rose and fell in a rhythm that seemed almost like singing. Tilvik did not understand why, but he felt calmer just listening to it. David entered the room next. He moved to a different spot, several feet from Emily, and sat down the same way. He did not speak. He just breathed and waited. Honey's growling continued. But Tilvik noticed something. It was getting quieter, softer. The bear was still watching the humans with suspicion, but she had not attacked. She had not charged. She was waiting 2 minutes past. Nothing happened. Tilvik found himself holding his breath. This was not treatment. This was not medicine. This was something he had never seen before in all his years of practice. This was patience. Pure and simple patience. The humans were not trying to defeat Honey. They were not trying to control her. They were simply offering her their presence and waiting for her to decide what to do with it. It was, Tilvik realized, the bravest thing he had ever witnessed. "Doctor," Whisper whispered beside him. "Look at her eyes." Tilvik looked at the screen showing the cargo hold camera. He zoomed in on Honey's face. Her eyes were still wide, still watchful. But something had changed. The wild panic was fading. The desperate fear was getting smaller. In its place was something new. Curiosity. The bear tilted her head slightly, watching these strange creatures that had entered her space but made no move to threaten her. Her nose twitched, catching their scent. Human scent. The same scent that had fed her and cared for her during the long months on this ship. Maybe, Tilvik thought, maybe these humans knew something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Maybe. The strongest thing in the universe was not teeth or claws or weapons. Maybe it was simply being willing to sit in the dark with a monster and say, "I understand." 1 hour passed. Tilvik stood at the door with Whisper, watching through the camera screen. His legs were tired. His eyes were dry. But he could not look away. Emily had not moved from her spot on the cargo hold floor. Neither had David. They sat like statues made of flesh, breathing slowly, existing quietly. Sometimes Emily spoke in that soft musical voice. Sometimes she hummed. Sometimes there was only silence. Honey had stopped growling after the first 30 minutes. She remained in her corner, watching the humans with tired eyes. Her wounded shoulder had stopped bleeding, but Tilvik knew the danger was not over. The cut needed cleaning and medicine. Every hour that passed increased the risk of infection, but he also knew that rushing would destroy everything the humans had built. Trust was a fragile thing. It could not be forced or hurried. It could only be offered and waited for. "I do not understand them," Whisper said quietly. "The humans. How can they be so patient? How can they sit there knowing that creature could tear them apart in seconds?" Tilvik had been thinking about the same question. The answer he found surprised him. "Because they are predators," he said slowly. "Real predators. The best hunters in the universe are not the ones who are fastest or strongest. They are the ones who can wait, who can stay still for hours until the perfect moment comes." Humans evolved to hunt animals bigger than themselves. They had to be patient. They had to understand their prey. And somewhere along the way, that patience became something else. Something else? Empathy, Tilvik said. The ability to put yourself in another creature's mind. To feel what it feels. To understand its fear without sharing it. Humans are not patient with Honey because they are weak. They are patient because they are strong enough to choose peace when violence would be easier. On the screen, something changed. Honey made a sound. It was not a growl or a roar. It was softer, deeper, almost like a sigh. Her massive body shifted, and she lowered herself to the ground. Her legs folded beneath her. Her head dropped onto her front paws. She was lying down. After 3 hours of standing and fighting and panicking, she was finally resting. Emily noticed. Tilvik saw her shoulders relax just slightly. But she did not move. She did not celebrate. She just kept talking in that gentle voice. "That's it, honey. That's good. You're so tired, aren't you? You've been scared for so long. It's okay to rest now. Nobody's going to hurt you. We're just going to sit here together." Another 30 minutes passed. Honey's eyes began to close. Her breathing slowed. She was not sleeping, not quite, but she was calm. The panic that had filled her body was draining away like water from a broken cup. Emily began to move Dot till VEK held his breath. This was the dangerous part. One wrong move, one sudden noise, and Honey could explode back into violence. But Emily moved like water flowing over stones. Smooth and slow and natural. She shifted forward on her knees, covering only a few inches at a time. Her hands stayed low and open. Her eyes stayed on the ground. She was making herself as small and harmless as possible. David did not move. He stayed where he was, a calm presence in the background. Tilvik realized this was intentional. If Emily approached alone, she was less threatening. If David stayed back, he could provide an escape route if something went wrong. These humans had done this before, Tilvik realized. Maybe not with bears. Maybe not in space. But they understood how to approach dangerous creatures. It was part of their nature. Part of their history. Emily was halfway across the room now. 20 feet from Honey. Then 15. Then 10. Honey opened her eyes. She watched Emily approach. Her body tensed slightly. A low sound rumbled in her throat. Emily stopped immediately. She sat back on her heels and waited. Her voice continued its soft melody. I know, girl. I know. It's scary. Someone's coming close. That's frightening. But I'm not going to hurt you. See? I'm small. I'm quiet. I'm just a friend. The moment stretched like elastic. Tilvik's hearts pounded so hard, he thought they might burst. Then Honey relaxed again. Her head dropped back to her paws. Her eyes stayed open, watching, but her body was soft. She was giving Emily permission to continue. 5 more minutes of tiny movements. Emily was close enough now that Honey could reach her with one swipe of her massive paw. If the bear decided to attack, Emily would have no chance. No human speed could dodge those claws. No human strength could survive that power. But Emily kept moving forward. Finally, she stopped. She was sitting right next to Honey's front leg. The bear's paw was bigger than Emily's entire torso. Those claws could cut through steel. Emily slowly, carefully, reached out her hand. Tilvik could not watch. He closed his eyes. He waited for the sound of violence. The scream. The terrible noise of human flesh being torn. Nothing came. He opened his eyes and looked at the screen. Emily's hand was resting on Honey's paw. Just resting there. Gentle and light. The bear had not moved. Had not attacked. Had not even flinched. Honey let out a long, shuddering sigh. Her whole body seemed to sink deeper into the floor. Her eyes closed completely. For the first time in hours, she was at peace. Okay, Doc. Emily's voice came through the intercom. She was whispering, but every word was clear. She's ready. You can come in now. Move slow. Talk soft. Don't look at her eyes directly. And whatever you do, don't act scared. Tilvik looked at Whisper. His assistant's eyes were wide with fear. I cannot do this, Whisper said. I am sorry, Doctor. I am not brave enough. Tilvik understood. He felt the same fear in his own body. Every cell was screaming at him to run away, to hide, to survive. But he was a healer. He had an oath. And more than that, he had seen something today that changed him. He had seen humans do the impossible. He had seen patience defeat violence. He had seen empathy conquer fear. If they could do it, so could he. Stay here, he told Whisper. Call for help if something goes wrong. He picked up his medical bag and walked toward the door. The cargo hold was warm and dark, and smelled like blood and synthetic meat. Tilvik moved slowly, just as Emily had instructed. He kept his body low. He kept his eyes on the floor. He thought calm thoughts, though his heart would not stop racing. Emily watched him approach. She never moved her hand from Honey's paw. That contact, Tilvik realized, was keeping the bear grounded. It was a reminder that she was not alone, that someone cared. He reached Emily's side and carefully set down his medical bag. Honey's eyes opened slightly. She looked at him. He saw no anger in her gaze, only exhaustion and pain, and something that might have been gratitude. "Hello, honey," Tilvik said softly. "I am here to help you. This might hurt a little, but I promise I will be gentle. You are very brave." He opened his bag and began to work. The wound was deep but clean. Debris had cut through muscle but missed the important blood vessels. Tilvik cleaned the injury with careful hands. He applied medicine to stop infection. He sealed the cut with medical gel that would help it heal. Throughout the entire process, Emily kept her hand on Honey's paw and kept speaking in that gentle voice. The bear did not move. She did not attack. She did not even growl. She just lay there, trusting these strange creatures to help her. When Tilvik finished, he sat back and looked at his work. The wound was sealed. The medicine was working. Honey would be fine. "You did it, Doc," Emily said. She was smiling. "You really did it." Tilvik looked at the massive predator lying peacefully before him. He thought about everything he had believed about dangerous animals. Everything he had been taught about threats and safety and survival. "No," he said quietly. "We did it, together." In the darkness of the cargo hold, surrounded by two apex predators, Tilvik felt something he had never felt before. He felt honored. 3 months had passed since that night on the human cargo ship. Tilvik sat in his office on Mercy's Light, looking at the report he had written for the Galactic Veterinary Council. It had taken him weeks to find the right words. He had rewritten it dozens of times. But now it was finished. The report was titled Observations on Human-Animal Bonding, a case study in cross-species empathy. It was already making waves across the galaxy. Veterinarians from 100 worlds had requested copies. Scientists had asked him to give lectures. The Galactic Biology Council had even invited him to present his findings at their annual conference. But Tilvik did not care about the fame. He cared about the truth he had discovered. Humans were not what the galaxy thought they were. Yes, they were predators. Yes, they were dangerous. Yes, their bodies were designed for hunting and killing. But that was only part of the story. The bigger part, the important part, was something the galaxy had completely missed. Humans had empathy, not just for each other, not just for their own kind. They had empathy for everything. They looked at a wounded bear that could tear them apart and asked, "What do you need? How can I help?" They sat in dark rooms with monsters and sang to them until they felt safe. They made themselves small and vulnerable so that frightened creatures would not feel threatened. This was not weakness. This was strength of a kind the galaxy had never seen before. Tilvik had written all of this in his report. He had described the night with Honey in careful detail. He had explained how Emily and David had used patience and understanding instead of force and sedation. He had documented the exact methods they used to calm the bear. And he had argued strongly that these methods should be taught in every veterinary school in the galaxy. His conclusion had shocked many readers. Humans do not see predators and prey. They see individuals. They approach creatures that terrify the rest of the galaxy and ask, "What do you feel? What do you need? How can I help you?" They make themselves vulnerable so that others feel safe. They suffer alongside the suffering. They fear alongside the fearful. And then they help anyway. This is not the behavior of a simple apex predator. This is something new, something wonderful, something the galaxy desperately needs to understand. We have classified humans as dangerous, and we were right. But we were also wrong. Yes, they are dangerous. But their greatest danger is not their teeth, their endurance, or their pack tactics. It is their empathy. They will bond with anything. They will protect anything. They will sit in the dark with a wounded monster and sing to it until it trusts them. I recommend that human behavioral studies be added to all Xena veterinary curricula immediately. The galaxy has much to learn from these impossible creatures. Tilvik had been nervous when he submitted the report. He had expected criticism, mockery, disbelief. Instead, he had received thousands of messages from other veterinarians sharing their own experiences with humans. Stories of human doctors who sat with dying animals all night just to keep them company. Stories of human rescue workers who risked their lives to save creatures that nobody else cared about. Stories of human children who adopted hurt birds and lizards and nursed them back to health with endless patience. The galaxy was waking up. Slowly, yes. But surely, a notification blinked on Tilvik's screen. He had a new message. The sender was Emily Park. His scales flushed with happiness as he opened it. "Hey, Doc," the message read. "Hope you're doing well. I wanted to send you something. We finally made it to Earth. Honey is being released into a protected sanctuary today. I thought you'd want to see." There was an attachment. A photograph. Tilvik opened it and felt his heart swell. The photograph showed a vast green forest with mountains in the background. The sky was bright blue. A river sparkled in the distance. And standing at the edge of the trees was Honey. She looked completely different. Her fur was thick and healthy. Her shoulder had healed perfectly, only a small scar remaining. Her eyes were calm and bright. She was watching the forest with an expression that Tilvik could only describe as wonder. Emily stood nearby, giving the camera a thumbs up. David was behind her, waving with both hands. They were smiling the way only humans could smile, with their whole faces full of joy. But what caught Tilvik's attention was something in the corner of the photograph. A small screen next to Emily was showing a holo image. Tilvik zoomed in and felt his scales turn bright yellow with surprise. The holo image was him. A picture from his official veterinary profile. Below the photograph, Emily had written more. "We showed Honey your image before we released her. David wanted to see how she would react. Doc, I'm not making this up." She walked right up to the screen and sniffed it. Then she made that little sighing sound she makes when she's happy. She remembered you. She remembered that you helped her when she was scared and hurt. You're packed now, Doc. Whether you like it or not, we'll be heading back out into space next month. Maybe our paths will cross again. Until then, take care of yourself. And remember what you learned. Sometimes the scariest things in the universe just need someone to understand them. Emily. Tilvik read the message 3 times. Then he printed the photograph and hung it on his office wall, right next to his medical degree. Whisper found him there an hour later, still looking at the picture. "Is that the bear?" she asked. "Yes," Tilvik said. "Her name is Honey. She looks healthy. She is healthy. Because 2 humans refused to give up on her. Because they saw a monster and called her scared. Because they sat in the dark with her and showed her she was not alone." Whisper was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "The council approved your proposal. They're adding human behavioral studies to the curriculum. Every veterinary student in the galaxy will learn what you learned." Tilvik nodded. He had expected this news, but hearing it still felt good. "Maybe one day," he said, "we will be as brave as they are." "The humans?" "Yes. Maybe one day we will look at the things that scare us and ask, how can I help? Instead of running away. Maybe one day we will understand that monsters are often just hurt creatures wearing frightening clothes. Maybe one day we will have the courage to sit with suffering instead of avoiding it." Whisper looked at the photograph on the wall. She looked at Honey, healthy and free. She looked at Emily and David, smiling with pure happiness. "Maybe," she said, "but the humans are far ahead of us." Tilvik smiled. It was a strange expression for a Morani, but he had been practicing. Yes, he agreed. They are. But they have shown us the way, and that is a gift beyond measure. He turned back to his work. There were more patients to treat, more creatures to heal. But something had changed in him since that night on the cargo ship. He approached his work differently now. He listened more carefully to frightened animals. He moved more slowly with scared patients. He tried to see things from their perspective, to feel what they felt. It was not easy. It was not natural for his species. But it was worth doing, because somewhere out in the vast darkness of space, humans were showing the galaxy what empathy could accomplish. They were sitting with wounded monsters and singing to them. They were making themselves small so that others could feel big. They were proving that the strongest force in the universe was not violence or power. It was simply the willingness to say, "I understand. I am here. You are not alone." Tilvik looked at the photograph one more time before returning to his work. "Thank you, Emily," he whispered. "Thank you for teaching an old doctor new tricks." Somewhere on Earth, a bear named Honey was walking into a forest, free at last. And somewhere in space, an alien veterinarian was learning to be human.